the tear in my heart. She's a carver, she's a butcher with a smile. Cut me farther than I've ever been. Well, it would have been, could have been worse than you would ever know. On the dashboard melted, but we still had the radio. Oh, should have been, could have been worse than you would ever know. Well, you told me about nowhere, well, it sounds like some place I'd like to go. Oh, could have been, should have been worse than you would ever know. Well, the windshield was broken, but I love the fresh air, you know. The dashboard left it, but we still had the radio. Well, it would have been, could have been worse than you would ever know. The dashboard left it, but we still had the radio. Oh, we talked about nothing, which was more than I wanted to know. Oh, 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 now here we go. Oh, it would have been, could have been worse than it had even gone. Well, the car was on blast, but I was already where I want. Is it possible we're ready? Could we really? Well, should we ever even get to know? Is it possible we're ready? Could we really? I was the world out like a little shake us to fly. We were a now here we go. Well, we skied, but we always blow it. We get to crash, but we still might as well do it. Standing out of light, switch to each east and west horizon. Every dawn one year surprising. In the evening was good, so would say it. See, it wasn't quite as bad as. Well, it would have been, could have been worse than you would ever know. I was patiently erasing and recording the wrong episodes after you improved my wrong. It wasn't like I'd let it go. Oh, 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 oh. I just wanted to catch the last laugh of this show. Yeah, it would have been, could have been worse than you would ever know. Oh, the dashboard melted, but we still have the radio. The dashboard melted, but we really, could we really? Hardwired to conceive so much we had to stow it. Even needs tiny Johns made tiny giants. Don't wear eyelids so I don't miss the last laugh of the show. Well, we could have been, should have been, worse than you would ever know. Well, you told me that nowhere, well, it sounds like some place I'd like to go. Oh, 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 oh,
All right, I think we'll get started. I'm going to do a quick introduction of myself here, and then we'll let the panelists introduce themselves. My name is Sean Vita. I am a senator in District 6. That is straight north of here. It starts at Washburn, goes up to Canadian border, all the way over to Bottineau, and then all the way over to the end of Renville County. Any District 6 people here? Hey, how you doing? Oh, I know that gal. She lives in my hometown. All right. So anyway, I grew up in Stanley, North Dakota. About 20 years ago, moved to Velva, bought the grocery store, got involved in community. I really enjoyed, I guess the part of my job I enjoyed the most was hiring young kids, watch them come in. A lot of them couldn't even, talk to you. They were so nervous. And then when they left, they just had the confidence to go on to college, and they'd come back and they'd tell you about the great things they were doing. And I guess that's my proud moment. I have kids of my own and very proud of them, and they've grown up to do great things too. But it was just good to know that those kids started in the store, and I know how important it is for youth to interact with adults and have that part of their growing up. So we're going to start out with Beth here, and we'll just go down, and then we'll ask some questions, and we'll get a little dialogue going here.
Good morning. My name is Beth O'Donnell, and I work with Strengthen ND. My background is actually 22 years in higher education, working with young adults in leadership roles and capacities, and just recently made the transition over to Strengthen ND, which is a nonprofit organization working across the state of North Dakota. Actually, Saturday evening, I finished up our pilot program for our Launching Leadership program, which is a 9th through 12th grade youth leadership program that focuses on community first leadership. So really excited to expand that program across the state of North Dakota, and really excited about the youth that we worked with over the past week and hearing from them and what their goals, objectives, and just oversight for leadership in the state.
We'll move on to Rachel.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rachel Brash. I'm with the University of Mary. I'm located here in Bismarck. And I've been at the university for 14 years. I'm originally from northern Minnesota. My husband and I moved down to the Phoenix area and lived there for a while, but eventually made our way up to North Dakota because this is where we wanted our family to grow up. And in my role, I am the executive director of University of Mary Online. What that really means is that I oversee recruitment and retention for our online students. We're most well known for our students that are on main campus, but we also host 1,200 students in bachelor's, master's, and doctoral programs in North Dakota and across the nation. Along with that, I oversee workforce development, which includes Leadership North Dakota, which is an executive leadership program that takes people across the state for 6 months out of every year.
All right, Tanner.
Matakia P, Hanilak Chi, Ambetu Yamani Washte, Yuha Trante Napetra Isapolo, Tanner Vio Imachiapolo, Iktajikpo Lakota, Ikche Wichasha, Imatahan, Lakota Iate, Wichasha. So, good morning, everybody. I want to greet you here with a good heart and a handshake, and hopefully open up this dialogue and provide a student's perspective who's attending United Tribes Technical College today. My name's Tanner Vio, and I'm thankful for you all inviting me here.
Thank you, Tanner. Sam?
Thank you for having me. My name is Sam Jensen. I'm the executive director for the Greater Grand Forks Young Professionals. I am a substitute. Becca Kruger was supposed to be the featured speaker. She's the workforce development director in Grand Forks for the regional EDC. So the Main Street Summit staff begrudgingly reached out to me, and I'm happy to be here and humbled to be on this stage with these wonderful people. But with the Greater Grand Forks Young Professionals, we're an organization in Grand Forks/East Grand Forks that is aimed to get people more involved in the community. And we do that by hosting 3 events on a monthly basis. We have social events, professional development events, and monthly volunteering opportunities as well. So I'm looking forward to having this conversation.
All right. Well, I got a question for Rachel. I'm going to start out with Rachel. Leadership ND, have you noticed, are our youth avoiding leadership roles? Are they embracing it? What can you tell us in your opinion?
I think that the perception of what leadership is so varied. And so when you use that word leadership, it's often related back to title. And I think that's the farthest thing from the truth. For our communities to really thrive, leadership has to come just from individual people and from groups of people and from communities. That's where it really starts. And so I think that, and I wouldn't limit necessarily to younger people. I think that as far as people in general, understanding what leadership looks like and having people around them that will lift them up in that is really, really critical. And so we see that. We believe that as a student progresses, right? If they're a traditional undergraduate student, they progress. There's definitely a lot of intentional formation that happens throughout that process to help understand that leadership is more than just your title, who you're surrounding yourself with because of their title, and how many times you can post things and get lots of likes and attention on social media. It's so much more than that. But we also find that with our non-traditional students, and for those people that we're serving through workforce development, which is non-credit training, they are really seeking leadership and ability to be able to say, these are my strengths, this is what I can bring to the table, this is what I'm passionate about, and this is where I need a lot of help. That vulnerability with leadership, I think, is really, really important, and it's something that we focus a lot on in understanding that you're not here to be perfect. You're not here to always make the right decision, and even if you are promoted, right, and we're working really hard within industries to be able to promote people, that doesn't mean that they're going to have all the answers or be able to do everything. And being able to support somebody through those individual moments so that they understand that leadership is that it's hard to be in the spotlight, and yet there's a lot of pressure to be in the spotlight. And so I think being able to assist the people around you to do that is an important but difficult work.
Okay. Sam, that kind of leads me into a question for you. I noticed that the organization, the Greater Grand Forks Youth Professionals, they held a community mentorship program here back in September. I'd like to know what kind of response you guys had there. What age group was probably the most present in that? And I'll leave it up to you.
Yeah, so our community mentorship program, we haven't officially launched it yet. We're in the process of recruiting people who want to be mentored and then reaching out to business and community leaders in Grand Forks and East Grand Forks to be those mentors. And our target demographic of people to be mentored would have to be early, recent college graduates or current college students. And our thought process behind that is we want them to get connected to professionals in Grand Forks / East Grand Forks. So when the time comes for them to graduate and enter into the workforce, they already have some established professional connections in the region. And when they're making a decision, do I stay here? Do I go to another place to pursue another opportunity? I have people that I can lean on. And very well received. I'm surprised at the amount of people that we've had signed up to become mentored. That was a worry of mine, that there wasn't going to be enough people out there who say, hand up, I want to meet with someone once a month for 6 months to have a conversation about where I want to go in my career. But it's very well positively received, and there's a lot of very good business and community leaders in Grand Forks / East Grand Forks that are willing to help mentor these young people.
Okay, thank you. Tanner, I had a question for you. You are going to college, United Technical College, is that correct?
United Tribes Technical College, yes.
Okay, thank you. And what do you see among your friends, student peers as leadership? Do you see a lot of them wanting to take that role on? Are they encouraged to take that role on? And within your community, what does leadership look like?
So the vision statement at United Tribes Technical College is actually to create future leaders who are going to lead our communities, and that's our main goal. In terms of encouraging it, yeah, there's a very encouraging and welcoming atmosphere. I know our faculty and staff do their best to ensure all the students feel safe and comfortable to express who they are and to reconnect with their culture. We have a very different understanding of leadership than traditional American society. Lakotas, we would elect leaders almost on a daily basis, and people followed whoever they wanted to follow. If somebody wanted to take their camp and move to another place, they would do that. But that tradition is carried over today, and that we have a lot of leaders under college who want to help our community. You know, one of our values is generosity, and we're so focused on giving back to our community, making sure everybody's heard and understood. A lot of us are still healing from the trauma and the abuse that occurred at the residential schools as it gets passed down throughout the generations. So that's why we're so focused on making sure everybody feels safe and comfortable. But because it's so safe and comfortable, it has a multiplying effect, almost like it's creating more leaders for people to step into these spaces and grow outside of their comfort zone, you know? And I see that so often at Tribes with our students, is that they want to grow and achieve and do more to help our communities. You know, they have a very strong sense of belief in themselves. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Beth, we just talked down there earlier. I knew you were in the area, but I didn't know you were in my hometown. So I kind of going to throw my question out, and I want you to tell me a little bit about your experience with your first, if I'm correct, Leadership Institute in North Central Region of North Dakota, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, let us know how that went.
So one of the reasons we actually created Launching Leadership is over the last several months on several different phone calls, folks from small communities, large communities, we're talking about the lack of people who were able to step up and take leadership roles. And that was due to several different things. It could be that people didn't have time. It could be that they were moving out of the area. And so we really wanted, as kind of a Department of Commerce group, to figure out what those other barriers might be. And one of the things that we realized is that we need more people in the pipeline to be able to step up into a whole lot of different leadership roles and capacities. And so we wanted to start fairly young with high school students who have a lot of those leadership desires, who feel like they have some type of skill set in leadership, but have never been given the opportunity or coached to build their self-efficacy in those different leadership roles, an opportunity to really learn about each of those different skill sets, to learn about the different roles of leadership that exist within a community. So not just a civic engagement type of leadership role, but maybe an organizational role, or maybe they're going to be involved in their school or in their future university. So giving them a lot of that self-confidence and self-efficacy to say, I can be a leader, I can even be a leader right now. And so we created this program and ran a pilot in North Central North Dakota just this past week. It was a 3.5-day event with speakers. We also went out and did some touring in different types of towns. So we were in Velva, we were in Minot, we were in Max, we were in Rugby, and heard from a lot of different types of leaders and their experiences within their leadership roles. And several of them had different leadership roles that they talked about. And so those students really learned about how they could get involved in things that they were passionate about. One of the nice things about this particular program is those students aren't finished when they leave the conference. Each one of them developed a project that they're going to bring back to their own communities. Some of them were dealing with agriculture and FFA. One individual decided she lived in a small town that didn't have FFA, and she wanted all of the little kids that were at this daycare to learn about animals and learn about growing, and so that's her project. A couple others wanted to bring teen activities to their downtown during the summer, and so they're going to start planning for this summer to kind of incorporate those teen activities so that teenagers come downtown, want to stay downtown, participate in the different activities, the coffee shops, the restaurants, the different options that are available, but what's going to drive those teens downtown. And so each person is utilizing what's passionate for them and what they love about their different communities, and really trying to bring that leadership role into their community. And so providing that encouragement for those young folks. I'm going to tell you that some of those projects, as a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, I was not thinking about how to rejuvenate my downtown area or to bring, my group of friends downtown and highlight the different things that I loved about downtown. I think I was thinking about like, what movie I wanted to go to the next week, right? So the possibilities in our youth are endless. And I think we don't necessarily talk to that group of students enough about how they really contribute and have the most amazing ideas that can really help our communities thrive and to move that needle, right? So we have talked about workforce and we've talked about growth in our communities over the last couple of days. Those are the folks that are going to make the greatest impact in the next 10 years. And so we really do need to include them in our discussions, ask them what they want as part of our communities, and so empower them to step up and take some of those leadership roles, I think, is a really important piece of what our communities need to think about in the future.
All right, thank you. Next question is, Beth works 9th through 12th grade, and I want to ask the other three panelists who are probably working with the college a little more, what kind of barriers do you see out there that are created for somebody that is trying to step into that leadership role, or maybe trying to start a business and become that person on Main Street? Or Tanner, in your case, is there barriers within your community that you see that are maybe from outside of the community? So Tanner, I'll let you go first.
All right, thank you. So the barriers that I see existing here, right? Leaders are a reflection of a society's values. So like all of us here have our own values and all of us are individuals, and those values vary from person to person, but the majority of the values is that they're going to be the people who elect our leaders. And because of that, leaders that they elected, if they get stuck into office for long periods of time, they were raised in a certain generation that had different experiences than today's problems. So the primary barrier that I see then is that we are living in a changing environment, not just with inflation, but also with a mental health crisis. And there's a lot of problems in our society today. But the youth of today understand those issues better because they grew up in these problems and these issues. There's a lack of, good jobs out there for my generation. And because we see that, we want to help our community and we have ideas about how to shape that. So I'd say the biggest barrier is the disconnect between the youth's issues and not being able to get into these leadership roles, not just in government, but also in business because of the way the structure is set up to have an impact on our community. And we're forced to follow leaders that we don't necessarily agree with to make our living. Thank you.
Rachel?
When my husband entered the teaching field after he graduated from Valley City State, he couldn't find a teaching job in North Dakota. And so that's the reason that we ended up down in Phoenix, is because jobs were plentiful. And now when we look at our students that are finishing up their degree, the last thing we want to do is commodify students, but they know they're a hot commodity. Like, they know it, and they know that they can kind of call the shots. And with that, I think when they perceive work very differently. There is no work-life balance. Work is part of your life. And it's so integrated into your life. And so when you talk about what are barriers for leadership, it's for the rest of us to be able to catch up to that. And we can't always completely change who we are as an organization or a leader to accommodate that. That's not necessarily beneficial either. But we do have to think differently, because what Tanner just said is things are different and they're changing. And so the biggest challenge that we often see is often simply real confidence. Within Leadership North Dakota, which is a program for mid and executive level leaders, we take them around, we show them parts of the cities that sometimes they live in that they've never seen before. We put them in front of people anywhere from somebody who is a landowner in the Bakken to F5, right? And everything in between, and talking about what that looks like. When they're able to say, I'm not sure, right? I have people underneath me, and I have a certain title, and I have certain responsibilities, and there's a lot of pressure on me. I still don't know how to do these things. That's so powerful for our students that are entering the workforce to be able to see that. That's not really seen as a weakness, that's seen as being approachable. And so I think that an understanding of what a career arc really looks like, that experience counts for things to be able to enter the workforce, and that they don't have to go through a big process in order to receive leadership opportunity, right? You don't have to go through an obstacle course to be able to promote somebody. You do have to make sure that they are supported through that process. That to me is a really strong growing process. And where we see a lot of people leaving oftentimes is because they are promoted and they feel completely alone. And sometimes they have to now supervise the people that were once their colleagues and their friends, and now I have to be your friend and your boss. And you've lost all that productivity with them in their previous role. And that's a really dangerous time for an organization, and it's a really dangerous time for somebody in their leadership arc. And so it's really about being able to say, this is where we're going as a vision, right? I mean, like, how many times do we all think about or hear about ESG and what that means to a particular organization, a person, whoever it is? They have to understand where you're going. If they don't understand where you're going as an organization or as a leader, they're going to have a really hard time understanding how they themselves would be that. And so it's really about saying, this is what's going well, this isn't what's going well, and here are real life challenges. So you're talking about what does revitalizing downtown actually look like? Man, there's some good ideas that come from that creativity. If we had the fearlessness of like a 2-year-old that's high on sugar, just, you know, there's a certain ability just to free yourself from that, and we lose that as we get older. And I think just going back to that and saying it's okay.
And any suggestions from the panel here real quickly, Sam?
Yeah, that's been a priority for Greater Grand Forks Young Professionals. We'll have events, and we call new members, people who come to events for the first time, we'll call them wallflowers, right? They're sitting in the corner, not talking to anybody. They're just going for the free food, perhaps. But we've made it a priority to reach out to these people and welcome them into the group, maybe introduce them to more established members of our organization. And that's something that I'm proud that we're now doing. So now all of our events feel a little bit more welcoming.
Good. Tanner?
So I just want to talk again about humility. So like, how can we, I want people to feel valued, right? And that sense of humility is something all Lakota leaders had, and we have that because we see each other as equals, right? All of you in this room, we're all human beings and we're all equal. And having that respect for each other, it just doesn't apply to this room, just doesn't apply to our leaders. But there was one of our homeless relatives out here whose hands were shivering, and I don't know how many people drove past her, but I sat down with her and had a conversation with her. I made her feel valued, and I helped her with some money. But having that humility to treat her as a human being also lets me treat you as a human being. So let's make sure that we're always coming at things with good intentions and a good heart and making each other feel valued. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner.
In any given situation, whether it's school or your job or a task or whatever it is, having the ability for somebody who is communicated to what are the parameters, what do we need to do, allow people to do their thing. If they really understand what the end really great things when nobody else is looking. And so being able to give space to that, to allow people to do a good job. People want to thrive. They want to thrive and they want to do well and they want to contribute positively. And so I think just giving them that space to do that.
Okay. Beth?
I think one of the great things about leadership and good leadership is understanding that it's a group effort and that everyone has different strengths that contribute to that success of the project or the program or the community. And so celebrating individual strengths and understanding that your weakness isn't a negative thing, because then someone else can assist and help and contribute in that way that might be a weakness for you, and really embracing that community effort of completing a project or a program, and celebrating those within each individual. So I'm a horrible speller and proofreader, and I always am so grateful and thankful to those on my team or who I work with to be able to say, can you please look over this really quick, right? And by doing those different, strengths and weakness collaborations, it makes the whole program run better, right? And that's a very simple example, but really appreciating everybody's individual strengths that they bring to the table.
All right, excellent. Well, that's probably going to wind things up here. Do we have anybody that has anything else for the order here that would like to bring something up? I want to thank Sam, Tanner, Rachel, Beth. This is the first time we met. I feel that just this half hour that we've been together, it's enriched me. I know I didn't know a lot about Young Professionals. I heard about it. I knew it was a great group. Tanner, I appreciate all of your insight. It was just great to hear that. I don't know how old you are, but man, amazing. So I appreciate that. And Rachel and Beth, I know you've worked in this industry and your passion for it, and I hope we run into each other again. And I don't know how many here is going to be sticking around. I've got to go back to a meeting at the Capitol, but I'm sure they would be more than willing to discuss with anybody out there if you'd like to approach them. I'm sure they're very easily approachable. So, but so anyway, we're down to a couple minutes here where I think we're going to end this early, and I appreciate everybody who stuck around and listened to this panel. Thank you.
Gotta get back, I can't let this go. Saturday sun, I met someone, don't care what it costs. No ray of sunlight's ever lost.